Whereas if you have that 4 hours worth of work to spread across maybe multiple people, now you were able to optimize that 4 hours to, you know, to be more productive and get more done. So basically, two heads is better than one, pretty much what we've been told our whole lives. And so I was approached by my now assistant, and it was, I mean, kind of a cold call of sorts on her end. She sent me an email, and I'm gonna catch all the typos and all the issues in the writing, all the syntax errors, all that type of stuff. It like sticks out like a sore thumb to me. And I recall reading through her email and it just being so well written and so professional. And she had her shit together. And I'm like, I'm into it. I am into it. She was a Black woman, super on board for it. And so, I, again, had never had an assistant, had done everything by myself for all this time. When I brought her into the fold, she'll tell you, it took so long for me to take my hands off of things and delegate to her. It was so hard for me. And I really wish it was something that I had considered earlier on, getting a virtual assistant, because I would have been much more used to that collaborative kind of effort that you kind of have to have in a small business, especially. And so being that I did everything, I didn't know how to work with people. I grew up the youngest and the only girl. I never had to share. I never had to share anything. It's always been me and about me, and not necessarily in a selfish way, but that's literally what it's always been. That's all I've ever known. So bringing somebody else into the fold, especially like, this is my baby, this is my business I built, this is me. I was extremely, extremely difficult when it came to giving her responsibilities and really delegating and taking things off of my plate. And when I say difficult, like I'm still struggling with it, just because it really exposed a lot of areas that I didn't realize I needed people to even run for me. So it was an incredibly transformative experience to get a virtual assistant that was adequate and was able to point out a lot of my flaws and say, well, I need this from you, and me have to be like, oh shit, that's something I normally do at the last minute. Let me draft that email, or let me go ahead and get this list of things for you, or let me give you these deadlines. Let me bring you into my mind, because that's where all this information that you're asking for lives. So anyway, I was very leery about the concept of a virtual assistant, but busy people need people, and we are still very much in a pandemic. So given COVID and just giving the new norm as it relates to working with people, if you are a solopreneur and you find yourself even considering defining yourself as burnt out, or looking and finding, noticing days where you're just not getting anything done, you're so all over the place, you're just struggling. If you are in a state of struggle with your business as far as completing all of your tasks go, look into a virtual assistant, because they can be incredibly affordable, but so, so helpful. So busy people need people. I don't care who you are. You need somebody. And so there we go. Next up, I think okay, so we're in this entrepreneur, work for yourself, don't work for the man era, right? I always hear people, me included, but I knew it was something I just never said. But you always hear people talk about working for themselves, or I want to work for myself, or I don't want to work for anybody else, whatever. But the one thing that a lot of us are lacking as entrepreneurs are the benefits of physical coworkers. So there are a lot of things that I don't think any of us realize we get from having coworkers, especially if you've been in jobs where it's like you just didn't like them. Like, I've had plenty of jobs where I'm just like, ugh, I don't want to work with them ever. And so I totally get it. But physical coworkers, they provide collaboration. They provide energy to the hell? Why did I just draw a blank like that? Energy to feed off of? Shit. So they provide collaboration, energy to feed off of, and support. So those days when your boss does something that pisses you off, there is nothing like going and venting to your work bestie. You know what I'm saying? Or just getting it off of your chest to somebody that understands what it is that you just went through. That is something that is completely stripped away from you as an entrepreneur. And so with physical co-working being something that's so underrated when it comes to the things that you'll miss out on as an entrepreneur is something that we have to be extra intentional about, making sure we still have those collaborative meetings, meeting of the minds kind of sessions as we go through our business. And so I have something I'm going to be introducing for you all very, very soon, because this is something that I have personally spoken with fellow entrepreneurs about, and I know that there is a need for this in our world. I'll call it our world. And so physical co-working is underrated, and whatever business you have, whatever it is that you do, try your hardest to find a friend, an internet friend, somebody that understands entrepreneurship or some of the struggles that you are specifically and uniquely going through, because it makes a world of difference to be able to kind of collab, vent, get some of that energy off, and really be in a positive space about things that may have had you in a bad headspace. So don't be afraid to reach out to people that or entrepreneurs that you've seen maybe mention struggles. Social media is a tool, and I think if we get back to using it as a tool and not just a place to dump shit, I think we can start benefiting from it again. So I already mentioned, I already mentioned how more manpower equals more man hours, which equals more productivity, which ultimately equals less stress. And that turns into a better you. So when you have tasks within your business that you're not an expert at, or that you don't particularly enjoy, those are the first things to outsource, right? Your strengths will always be your strengths, or at least that's what you should ultimately believe. You should believe, I am strong in this area, I have been strong in this area, and I will continue to excel in this area. So when it comes to delegating, contracting out, outsourcing, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to that, start with the things that you don't particularly enjoy and you know that there is a skill set out there for. So for me, and I'm sure a lot of small business owners, unless you are in a finance-based industry, like bookkeeping, I have no interest in bookkeeping. Now, that is not to say that I don't know anything about bookkeeping. I just don't enjoy it. It's incredibly tedious. And while I do enjoy paying attention to my books and knowing what's going on with my accounts and my finances, I am not necessarily a fan of sitting and balancing multiple accounts, balancing, hundreds of transactions, like that very tedious part of it that comes with having specifically an e-com store. I am not interested in. So that is something that was very important for me to outsource. For other people, it might be graphic design. I know people who are incredible copywriters, terrible graphic designers. And so that is something that if you are an incredible copywriter and you need graphics, that's what you outsource. You wouldn't outsource copywriting. That's what you're good at. And that's something that you can do pretty easily. But you want to outsource those things that take up your time because you don't enjoy doing them. So don't be afraid to, go on Fiverr. There's some great experts on Fiverr. Ask on your social media stories. If you're a person that sits on Instagram and reposts shit all day, pop in the middle of your stories and be like, hey, I need X, Y, and Z. If you know somebody, or if you're able to point me in the right direction, let me know. Reach out to somebody you might follow that, they might be a graphic designer or they might be in some type of art space. Use these people that are right in front of you to help you with the things that you need help with. And don't necessarily be afraid of how they may or may not respond. Listen, that is not your business. If you're reaching out to somebody, you've done your job. Whether or not they respond is on them. But just be prepared to maybe look at a few other people if they aren't, if they don't respond. It's not the end of the world. Lastly, build a criteria for help that you would like to have early. And update it often. So as when you first start out, everything is easy, or I won't say easy. You haven't gotten to those very heavy parts of the business yet in those very early times. So as you are growing your business, as you become more successful, you're seeing profit or not, you're just growing and expanding, trying to, get to your profitable moments. Start building the criteria of help that you really would feel is adequate for you. Like, I know I'm going to need somebody that's able to handle me being a squirrel. that's part of my criteria for sure. My assistant will tell you, listen, and I'll tell her like, girl, I'm about to take it left. And I needed somebody who was able to keep up with me going a few different places in a conversation. I can't be ashamed of who I am, and I can't not get adequate help because I don't want them to think a certain thing or look at me a certain way. Who gives a fuck? I am a squirrel sometimes, and I need somebody that's able to keep up with me, because that's ultimately how you'll be of help to me, if you're able to keep up with those things that kind of throw me off track. And so I think ultimately all of this boils down to being transparent, being open, understanding that not having the answers is not necessarily a weakness, and knowing that adequate help is out there, and that it is out there for you, whatever your business may be. Yeah, listen, I really just wanted to get right to it, this season. I really have a lot of tips like this one, like don't work alone, this type of stuff that I want to share with you all. You can expect to, hear more about processes, hiring professionals versus doing it yourself, firing people, like some people just aren't a good fit, and knowing when to say no, because every opportunity is not an opportunity that may be cut right for you. So these are things I'm going to get into this season. If you want me to expound on anything that I have mentioned tonight, let me know in my DMs, or you can reach out to me via email. All the information will be in the show notes. I'm really excited to have you guys on this ride with me. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for sharing the show and interacting with me on social media about the show. It makes a world of difference. Also, stay tuned for more information about Solo Society, which will be launching at the end of January. So you guys can follow me on Instagram at I am Crystal White. Follow me on Twitter at CrystalXWhite. And keep up with me. I'm going up this year. Talk to y'all soon.